Honestly, if the director wanted to do Todd X Car fanfiction, that's fine, but just be honest. Just be honest. Don't lie. Hey guys, it's cece. Welcome back to my channel. We're talking about where I feel like talking about, and today I'm going to be talking about Subservience, which is Megan Fox, which is Detroit Become Human. That's what we're talking about today. It's probably going to be all kinds of chaos because I did not really write a full script for this video. I didn't post a video last week. Last week was chaotic. I wasn't able to film, therefore I was not able to edit because there was nothing to edit. And the days I can film are usually Monday through Wednesday, and Monday through Wednesday I couldn't. We're gonna riff this one, okay? Treat this as an improv class because I don't have much written down. I have like 6 bullet points, but we're gonna vibe, we're gonna hang out, we're gonna chat. Also, I took my braids out. I also am thinking about cutting off all of my hair and starting anew. So that's how you can kind of know the general vibe of how my life is going. But yeah, I did not do my hair from this video. Listen, we threw a scarf on. I got this scarf in the Netherlands for $2 at a thrift store, and that's what's holding me together currently. So this holding my sanity together by a thin thread. Okay, anyway, if you don't think that this video is going to be chaos, I got another thing coming. If you guys know what I'm talking about, you'll have heard of the movie Subservience that came out on Netflix, I think in 2024. Yeah, this movie is old. Okay, it's old. But I recently, I don't know what I was watching. I think at some point, I think they took the Transformers movies off of Netflix, but at some point they had the Transformers movies on Netflix, and I was watching them and it came up in my recommended, and I was like, oh my God, is this Detroit Become Human? It was as if someone had written Todd X Cara fan fiction, and I will explain further as we get into the video. So essentially this video is just going to be me listing off the similarities in the movie and my crackhead theory that this is based off of Detroit Become Human. When I was looking up to see if the director or anyone who worked on the film had mentioned Detroit Become Human, I did see people talking about it on Reddit. So I know that I'm not the only one who thinks this, but I'm just going to list out the reasons why I think this. Without further ado, let's get into it, I guess. I watched this movie called Subservience, which stars Megan Fox. Also, the main character, Nick, is played by that guy from 365 Days, which is another reason I know that this is fan fiction, because 365 Days is a movie based off of a book that was Twilight fan fiction. So if you like, it's a trend in his career and you cannot expect me not to see it. Also, he's not a good actor literally at all. I'm not gonna recap the entire movie because it wasn't that good, and honestly his bad acting was kind of like distracting me throughout the movie. Essentially, I'm just gonna do a little summary of the movie so you can kind of get the gist. The movie's about this father, his name's Nick, who hires an android to help him take care of his kids. While his wife, Maggie, is in the hospital. She has a life-threatening heart condition that requires her to get a heart transplant, as the android Alice continues to take care of him and the family. She starts to become unusually attached to Nick and things go sideways. As we watch the movie, the first thing that I will say is just the entire premise is very, very similar to Detroit Become Human, right? Kara's storyline. Android, who is a housekeeping android, because when Nick goes to the android place where it's literally like IKEA for androids, the guy literally said that she's the best android they have for like taking care of kids. Boom, Kara, that is an AX400, right? They did say that she's like top of the line, so it's giving like a little bit of Connor energy. I'm making this case that she's kind of like an amalgamation of all, like Connor and Kara and a little bit of Marcus. Not too much, but she's kind of amalgamation of like all the Detroit Become Human androids, except all she really thinks about is dick the entire movie, which is another disturbing element that I will not be getting into. Another thing, the android's name is freaking Alice. And additionally, and also the daughter, her name is Isla, I think, is obsessed with Alice in Wonderland. Coincidence, I think not. The android being Alice, you could say that's a long shot, but the daughter being obsessed with Alice in no. No, like, you've been caught. Mind you, I looked up interviews with the director or like the writers or producers of the film to see if there was any mention of being inspired by Detroit Become Human. There was no such thing. The interviews I could find were just more topics about talking about AI, the rise of AI. Honestly, if the director wanted to do Todd X Car fan fiction, that's fine, but just be honest. Just be honest. Don't lie. Another very important thing that happens in this film, the first thing that they eat for dinner, okay, is lasagna. What is the cousin of lasagna? Spaghetti. What did Kara make for Todd and Alice? Quickly. It was spaghetti. I'm just saying the similarities are staggering. I know this is extremely silly, but as I was watching this movie, this felt very, very important to me. Nick, it's like an AU version of Todd, right? It's if Todd kept his job, if he had a family, if he was good to his family, quote unquote good, because Nick does end up cheating on his wife who is in the hospital with the android. That also was kind of a little ambiguous because Alice was kind of forcing herself on him throughout the film. So, because it literally felt like a no that turns into a yes, which to me is a little icky. Because there's a scenario where like essentially they're in the bathroom. I think he went to the bathroom or he was in the bathroom. Alice comes in there and he's naked, and then she just takes off her clothes and starts rubbing up on him and stuff like that. And then she basically like sits on his dick. And he's like, oh, we can't do this, yada, yada. And then they end up having sex. And I was just like, that is a little ambiguous to me of like how much informed consent was happening in that scenario. But at the end of the day, he did cheat on his wife, I suppose. I think there's a little bit more nuance to that situation, to be honest with you, because this android Loki did force herself on this man. Take that as you will, but essentially in the film, it is portrayed as, Nick cheats on his wife with the android and then shenanigans ensue. But essentially, he works for a construction company. I believe he's a foreman. And basically what happens is everyone else at the company, all of his coworkers or subordinates end up getting fired to get replaced by androids except him. His boss decides like they need at least one human person on site to like monitor everything. So he ends up staying at the company. Todd was a taxi driver. So I think self-driving cars just like ended up shunting him out of the industry. He picked up jobs after that, but all of those subsequent jobs that he picked up, he ended up getting forced out of because of androids. Right now, Todd ended up becoming a drug dealer. He also had a drug problem with, I don't remember what it's called, but it's like I'm pretty sure it's like red ice. It's like this like red ice, like cocaine drug that he's really addicted to. And you know what? Nick has a drinking problem. Coincidence? I don't think so. It's not as like, obviously Todd is portrayed in a very different way than Nick is, but they do both have substance abuse problems. Okay. Nick is drinking constantly and it becomes concerning to a point, to be honest. And it kind of also reminded me of how Todd was using red ice every which way that he could. He was literally on the couch in his home with his daughter, snorting the stuff, smoking it on a pipe. Okay, it was crazy. So this whole androids versus human workers subplot, very present in Detroit Become Human as well as in this film. Okay, additionally, I will say the aspects of Alice's androidness, very inspired by Detroit Become Human. Because you'll remember the androids in our game, okay, are Marcus, Connor, Alice, okay, and Car, because we find out that Alice at the end of the game is an android. Similar to Alice in Detroit Become Human, Alice, the robot, Megan Fox. Girl, I'm just going to call her Megan Fox, okay? If I say Megan Fox, I'm talking about android Megan Fox, Alice, because it's getting too freaking confusing. Megan Fox can like mimic heartbeats. So she can pretend like she has a heartbeat. She can like, she can like pretend, quote unquote, to be more human than she is, in the same way that Alice from Detroit Become Human can pretend like she's cold because she's like a child android that you're like supposed to like be able to take care of. So she can pretend like she's cold, she can pretend like she's sick, she can pretend like all these different things. It's one and the same. Additionally, Megan Fox also has the ability to mimic human voices the same way Connor can. She also has this thing that can like analyze like human blood and all this cool stuff. Like in Detroit Become Human, Connor has to like scoop things up and like lick it to like analyze the DNA. But in the movie, Megan Fox has this thing where she can use her mouth as like a UV light. And at a certain point in the film where she's like tracking down Maggie and Isla in the hospital because she wants to kill them, she like uses the UV light to like track the blood on the floor to find them, right? Not the same, but they're both doing mouth stuff. Okay, is it a reach? Yes. Also, the wake up deviant moment in the movie, because this movie is a thriller, I believe, it's kind of insinuated to obviously be a bad thing because she's becoming more sentient in a way that is terrible, because basically she wants to possess Nick and remove all the things in his life that are stressing him out, which is everything. Like, she kills his coworker because he was finna rat on him to the police about some fuck shit that they did earlier in the movie. She tries to drown his little baby because the baby won't stop crying and it's stressing Nick out. That it's very similar to the DBH like awakening moment where you understand your own desires as a person and like awaken. So obviously for Marcus, it was that moment where I forget his name, his caretaker, the man he's taking care of, his son like rolls up on him and he has to stand there and cannot defend his caretaker. Like the man, like he has to stand there and can't defend the man he's taking care of while this like literally 20-year-old man is like standing over him looking at him like he's trying to beat him down, right? So in that moment, Marcus awakens. For Kara, it's when trigger warning for abuse. Alice does something that Todd does not like, and he like basically chases her upstairs to like hurt her, right? And so in that moment, Kara is able to like break through her programming to protect Alice and escape from the house. In the movie, Megan Fox essentially, she watches Casablanca, and in that moment I knew that this movie was directed by a white man. She watches Casablanca and becomes sentient. Basically what happens is Nick tells her to sit down and erase her memory of anything that she's anything in her memory that relates to Casablanca, right? And so she can watch it for the first time. So they sit there together and watch it. And I think there's like a I ain't never seen Casablanca, so I don't really know what's going on. But there's a scene in the movie where romantic declarations are made by this woman who essentially is like, oh, I'll love you forever, yada, yada, yada. And so that has an impact on Megan Fox's character, and she basically decides that she wants to be that for Nick. And then having permission to like erase parts of her coding, she basically becomes like the arbiter of her own code. So she can decide the things that she wants to keep and the things that she wants to delete. It's a little bit different because obviously it's being used nefariously, but in that same way, she kind of gains her own autonomy and decides to use that for evil so she can kill babies and such. Terrible work. It's kind of like if Detroit Become Human, if the android uprising was a bad thing. By the end of the movie, she's gone full evil android and trying to kill his family. And at the end of the movie, I think Nick, with the help of his wife, basically like kill Alice. But then in the after credits scene, it shows Alice like in some sort of android lab coming back, and like it kind of shows her having maybe like the super consciousness where she can like teleport her brain into like other androids and also awaken them, quote unquote, right? Very bad stuff, very bad. But in Detroit Become Human, Marcus has this power, right? Marcus has this power to awaken other androids, but in a way where it's like, okay, you're conscious, you're essentially a person. In the words of Uncle Iroh, who are you and what do you want? Essentially is the question that Marcus is posing to everybody. And he becomes the android overlord and depending on how you play the game, takes over Detroit. It's literally, I don't even know how to explain it, but if you've read an AU fan fiction, like, this is what this is. If Kara and Todd got together and Detroit become human, but Todd had his shit together and Kara was a freaked out robot who only cared about the man's dick. That's what this is. I essentially summed up this entire movie, wow, in one sentence of Todd X Kara fanfiction. And honestly, that's all I wanted to say, is that this movie is Detroit Become Human fanfiction. Megan Fox is Detroit Become Human. I know it's like, talking about the concerns of AI and all that fun stuff. I know that this movie is kind of talking about those questions in a very, I guess, loose way, because AI is literally not humanoid. It's not sentient. It's an LLM. I mean, I guess it's like, I guess Nick could be essentially an allegory for those people who let AI into their private networks. Like, those AI tools that you can use to like sort through your email or sort through your photos and stuff like that, and then you look up and the AI has deleted 15 years of your photos because you let AI play around in your personal things. Yeah, I guess that's kind of like the allegory there, which makes sense. I see it. Maybe, I don't know, I didn't read that anywhere. That's the closest thing I could think about, is like, you let this lady into your home and take care of your kids, and then she almost drowned your baby. So now, what are we talking about? This is a world where the androids are much more established, and also nothing, as far as we're concerned, as far as the movie tells us, nothing like that has ever happened before. So it's not as if, in the real world we have plenty and many of storied examples of AI doing terrible things and not doing what it's programmed to do, and also lying to you and just being generally faulty. But in this world, there never seemed to be a case of faulty Android tech before Alice, as far as we know. It would have been fun, actually, if there was like maybe some sort of hint to like, oh, this is not the first time that this has happened, because then I can see where you're coming from, because then it's like, oh, this is something that actually has been a problem that the company is like burying underneath. Additionally, there is a character in this movie that does remind me of Todd. Not gonna lie, it's kind of like a cut and paste. His name is Monty. He's a guy that Nick works with, who is essentially one of the guys who got fired from the construction company. There's a scene in the show where Nick is with a bunch of his coworkers and Monty at a bar, and they're like, oh, we should do something fun after this. And then they drive, without Nick's consent, drive to the construction site, open up one of the android containers and beat one of the androids, right? Like, they destroy company property, essentially. And now Nick is implicated because he was also there when it happened. And they're like, oh, we got hip to you. Like, we know that they're keeping you on and getting rid of the rest of us, yada, yada. There's a point where Monty comes to Nick's house and he's like, I'm going to tell on the police to you unless you do da-da-da-da-da-da. And he's mean, he's loud, he's crass. His wife left him because of him losing his job, although I feel as though there are other things at play in that moment. Later in the movie, Alice goes to his house to cap this man, and he's in the house doing coke, okay? Much like, Todd loves the red ice. And she kills him. And then he has an android there. Mind you, earlier in the movie, Monty was, making fun of Nick or berating him because he had an android in his home. Like, we're getting replaced by androids, and here you have one like taking care of your kids and running around your home. Mind you, Todd also has an android in his home. In this movie, I'm like, you are acting like this is the end of your life, and yet you can afford to splurge on a android who's probably what, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5K. But I digress. But Alice ends up killing him, but it's kind of one of those things that's like, oh, this is who Nick could have been, but he's not. He's hot and employed. So there. But yeah, overall, I mean, I know I explained a lot about this movie that you probably have no basis for if you didn't watch it, but it's not a movie that I particularly care to describe to you because it wasn't that innovative. Yeah, that's all for this video. I don't know how this video is going to come out because I literally just sat down and filmed it. It's probably going to be super chaotic, all over the place. Rulakama, do you have anything to say? Squoosh! I'm so sorry. Thoughts on Subservience? I think he liked it more than I did. That's all from me. Please comment, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. This has been a hoot, a howl, and a growl, hoot, growl, all that fun stuff. I'm going to go long for some longevity, and I will talk to you later. Bye.